Oh, oh. You Africans, please listen to me as Africans. And you non-Africans, listen to me with open mind. Suffer, 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 suffer for world. Now your fault to be that. Me I say, now your fault to be that. Suffer, 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 suffer for world. Now your fault to be that. Me I say, now your fault to be that. I want you all to please take your minds out of these musical.
They will welcome. Happy holidays. All of you, I'm sure, have had a wonderful holiday. At least I would hope so, given in some parts of the world that people are truly suffering. We are living in the United States, and of course we know the pandemic is really causing a lot of heartache here, obviously, and also in Africa, in all parts of the world. So we ask for Chineke to please intervene on behalf of the world and make this world a better place. Help us get rid of this awful disease. I am so excited about today. And before I go any further, let me bring in my co-host, Dibia Ochoaja. You the Onyoha. Okay, madam.
Okay.
Onyoha Junior.
I just wanted to point out for my Kwanzaa, I got a present. You see that right there?
I see.
That's the Black Panther. That was the present I got for Kwanzaa.
Did you really? Oh, how wonderful!
Yeah, I got it from my stepson, Maynard.
Really? Well, that's wonderful. Yeah, and I'd like to welcome Ukunna Charles. Ndewo Ukunna, thank you for joining us. This is an exciting program. And of course, before we go any further, where the program itself is Arunsi Abara, Igbo manifestation of divine Chineke. And it is about us reclaiming our spiritual culture. I played Fela Ransom Kuti, a man that I really truly admire because of what he said there. You know, pay attention, listen to me, and we need to start paying attention. And if you are listening to his music and saying that we have as much as other people have, that we allow other people to use us to make money, you know, and the churches are using us to make money, and because we have been quite willing to be willing participants in the roots, you know, using discarding our things, our spirituality in favor of someone else's spirituality, which ultimately doesn't do us, does us a disservice. But today's conversation is really of interest to many people because, you know what, sometimes what I do is I get people to contact me and ask me and tell me what they would like us to talk about. So this was one area that some people are very interested. And Yudi, of course, I'm going to go to you to do host a lot of this conversation. But before we go any further, let me wish you happy Ekuroche.
Happy
Yes, this is a celebration of the goddess of the rivers. And even though Imomiri is the same, is the male essence of Ekuroche, but the time frame that Ekuroche is celebrated is different from when Imomiri itself, the male essence of this aspect of Arunsi, is celebrated. celebrating, reclaiming our culture. Yudi, what does that mean? Let's talk about the Arunsi. What are they? You know, there are several, about 7 or 8, depending on what culture, what part of Igbo land you're from.
Mm.
Okay, the Arunsi are relevant, we feel, as other God manifestations all over the world. You know, all the other religions have their own God manifestations. We have ours as well. They are the Arunsi, the Abara, and I believe that they are just as relevant. So let's take it away. Let you talk about what I just said. Why is it important for us to celebrate our own God manifestations?
Well, first we have to look at it from a totality of global spiritual culture, because it's very important that we tie these two things together. So that when you talk about African spirituality, you're not looking at it from, you know, the perspective of people that are maybe practicing something evil or something that is not relevant as far as human spiritual conscience is concerned, and all the things that we have to do to live the life that we need to live, so that you know, the community, our neighbors, and ourselves will flourish, you know, without any fear, without rumbling social harmony. Now, it is agreed in all cultures that God is, you know, eminent, right? Chineke and Olodumare, you know, Yahweh, Amuna, whatever you call God in your culture. But we also agree that forces of nature are part of this spiritual experience. You're connecting with the Almighty Chineke. Now, other cultures, for example, the Greek culture, pagan culture, also have manifestations of Chineke, or what in Nkoro we call Arunsi. In other Igbo dialects, you call Alunsi, spirit or manifestations of Chineke that are revered. I don't want to use the word worship, because then it takes from the totality of our experience with one creator. So I'll just say that these are manifestations. Alusis are manifestations of Chineke, right? That we revere and we pay homage to thank Chineke for Chineke's goodness to humanity. Now, what do I mean by different alusis and spirits that make up the totality or make up Chineke, or the God that we worship in our culture? Let's take, for example, Greek culture or pagan culture. You have Zeus, right? And then Zeus, on the Zeus, you have all kinds of gods, like Hera, you have Athena, Apollo, Poseidon, and so on and so forth. Aphrodite, Dionysus, Hermes, and so on and so forth. And then in Norse culture, you have the same thing. You have Odin, all the gods for us is Chineke, right? So you have Balder, you have Tiger, you have Protective, you have Thor, you have Horde. Each one of these gods that I just mentioned are a part of God's manifestations. I'm not going to go into detail, but I will concentrate a little bit more on ours. Now, the idea of God worship, first of all, understanding that God is transcendental, is the idea that these life-sustaining forces we ascribe or attribute to Chineke, because we know that the air that we breathe, the waters in the rivers, the fish that we eat, waters we drink, rain that comes from the sky, the vegetation in the world, we were not responsible for that. So we ascribe it to something greater than ourselves, and that something is the Almighty Chineke. And once a human being, man and woman, realized that they were not responsible for these life-sustaining forces, religion became automatic in them, right? So the next headache that they had was trying to figure out what this transcendental spirit looked like, Chineke. So they figured, well, the closest replica that we could make of this Chineke is us. Chineke must look like us. A lot more powerful, but Chineke must look like us. So if you look across all religions, they fashion Chineke based on how they look. The Indian god in India has Indian attributes. The European god has European attributes. The Chinese god has Chinese attributes. The god in the Mayan kingdom or the Aztecs or the Incas or even the Native Americans, their god also have their attributes. So the god of the black man and woman, the god of Africa, also have attributes just like me as a black man, thick lips, nose, dark skin, curly hair, what have you. So we go and we fashion a replica of God, of Chineke, in our image, and then we put it in a spot that is separate from everything else that we do in our daily lives. That particular spot where we put these images that we fashioned out of wood now becomes a hallowed spot. In Umporo culture, we call it Obase, right? That's what we call it. In the Christian context, you could call it a church or whatever place of worship. In Islam, you call it a mosque. In Igbo culture, Umporo culture, you call it Obasioha. Your own personal Obase or shrine is called an Obase, right? So you put that image over there, it becomes a hollow spot, and then you feel like every time you need to connect or speak with the Almighty, you go to this particular hollow spot. That becomes your Obase. That becomes where your psychological focusing to be able to communicate with the Almighty Chineke is relevant. Now, after that, we now deal with these manifestations of Chineke. In Umporo cosmogony, there's 8 of them, right? The first one is Anyanwu, the sun. Anyare anwu anwu. Okay? And we liken that as the head of Chineke, Godhead. And it's this Anyanwu that oversees all life on earth. Then the next manifestation of Chineke that we have is Ofonogu, which is your conscience. In a lot of religious, religious cultures, including our own, we say, do unto others as you would like Chineke to do unto you. That's your conscience, right? For you to have a good relationship with your neighbor, with your fellow human being, you have to have a conscience. He or she with that conscience, right? You're not in touch with reality. You're not walking. You're not one with Chineke. So you have that Ofonogu, which represents the soul of Chineke in you, the human conscience, which we all need to be able to operate in this world and be able to live a life of harmony with our fellow human beings.
Can I say something there? I'm sorry, before you go any further. What is interesting about that is, like in Igbo land, for instance, if they don't have to sign contracts.
No.
You come with Ofo.
You come with that.
And that's it.
That's it.
That means that you are, both of you agree verbally and in your conscience, right?
Your word is your
word is your what?
Bond.
Bond. There you go.
Yeah, and even in Europe, when they didn't have contracts, because contracts are a recent legal phenomenon.
Yeah.
In Europe, your word, it was Ofonogu.
That's right.
Your word was your bond.
Mm-hmm.
Contracts were sealed with a handshake.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. You say something, you put your hands out, you shake hands, you seal it. If you do anything contrary to that agreement, in most cases, you pay for it with your life. Same thing in Africa. You can't say one thing and do something else, because people depend on your word to make plans, to plan their future. They hang their future on what you said that you were going to do. So it's very important. Ofonogu, which is the second tier. Then the third Alusi is Agunsi, which represents the wisdom of Chineke. We believe that God is smart, God is transcendental. Agunsi becomes it, right? And in traditional medicine, it is the most important Alusi for traditional medicine people, because they liken Agusi to the brain of God in the ontological structure of the Godhead, right? So for them to be able to discern what is wrong with somebody, or for them to be able to tell you what you need to do to correct something that may be wrong with you physically or spiritually, it takes a lot of brain power to do that. So Agunsi, to the people that practice native medicine, particularly in Igbo land, the Alusi that the most likely, right, revere is Agunsi. Now, that's the third one. The fourth one is Kamalu, representing the forces of the sky. Now, I want people to pay attention how what I'm saying right now ties into our existence as human beings, right? The idea that these things have to be in place, they don't have to be out of whack, so to speak, for you to enjoy a fruitful life on earth. If the sky is out of whack, which is Kamalu, you have the rains, you have the floods, the whole land is flooded, people go all crazy. And you say, oh, we must have done something, that's why, we got all this storm and all these things are happening. It would have happened whether you were there or not. There's nothing wrong with the floods. There's nothing wrong with the storms. It's all part of God's, Chineke's creative power.
Yes.
It is necessary to sustain life. You as a human, as a human being, just happened to be there when it happened. So when you pray and you pray to Chineke, hoping that nothing happens to you in relevance to Kamalu, you're just praying that you're able to survive those floods, because those floods are necessary. If you have your life intact, you're always going to be able to plant again. You're always going to be able to find land. You're always going to be able to do those things that you need to do to sustain your existence.
Yes.
But just because it's lightning, just because there's tornado, it is not a punishment from God, because even when there were dinosaurs, there were tornadoes. I don't know what sins the dinosaurs committed. There were floods. There's nothing that happens in nature today in terms of Kamalu or any of the natural disasters that we have that wasn't happening before human beings walked the earth. It's all part of the creative process, and we should be thankful for it. And just hope that it doesn't, create such a level of disturbance in our lives that we're not able to come back from it, right? So that's the fourth one. Now, the fifth one is Ani, Mother Earth, covering the hills, the mountains, rocks, everything under the earth, the volcanoes, the lava. That is all part of God's manifestation. That is what life is anchored on. Even the rivers are anchored on land. Without Ani,
Could I just make a statement there? Thank you. That is a very important key thing you're talking about, because our people have always been in tune with nature. Even our spirituality, if you get a degree in African spirituality, it's a degree in natural phenomena.
Yes.
All right? Because everything you're laying out here deals with natural phenomena.
Absolutely.
Okay? It's practical. It's pragmatic. It's something you can see. It's not something invented. It is practical. And in honoring, not worshiping, but in honoring all those aspects of the natural phenomenon, we are honoring Chineke.
Exactly.
Or at least acknowledging the blessings that we receive through those principles. Well, depending on people give it different names, but those are manifestations of Chineke.
Absolutely.
And I hope that the audience is paying attention to that, because there's a lot of we're not. Chiism is not based on fabricated information. It's more based on, as you're outlining here, natural phenomenon, things that have been given. And when you look at our own concept of creation, the Chineke said to Ifenta and Adam, everything that you see, I have put before you for your own good. So go ahead. I just wanted to.
As a matter of fact, I'm just going to piggyback off of what you were just talking about for a second. And I'm going to go the Christian route, because it's the most dominant religion globally. And for our people as Africans, that's the religion that most of us adhere to. And the reason for adhering to it is because of our history of slavery, the Middle Passage, and also colonization. But I'm going to go back biblically, and I'm not really going to deal with Christianism, even though what I'm about to say, Christianism is anchored on it. But I'm just going to go back just for a minute and talk about creation in Judaism. On the first day, God said, let there be light. And then we could go on and on all the way to on the seventh day, he rested. In between the first day and the seventh day, Chineke created all the forces of nature and the fish and the food and everything that makes up life. Chineke prepared the conditions for humanity to be able to exist and sustain itself through the ages. It's right there in the Bible, in Genesis. So now let's juxtapose those forces of nature with the forces of nature that I'm outlining right now to you. You will find out that in the creation process in the Bible, it is almost identical to the creation process based on the Arunsi or Alusi in Igbo spiritual culture. Lightning, thunder, Ane, Agunsi, the sun, the human conscience, the animal, the rivers, all those were creations in the Bible. It is no different from Igbo cosmogony or the ontology of religion. It is no different from the ontology of religion in pagan culture. It is no different from ontology of religion in the Hindu culture or Zoroastrian culture or Buddhist culture. So you have to, like Ahaike Okonyo, my father said, our father, look beyond the microscope. You have to understand the reasoning behind what it is that we do as Africans for you to understand that you are not doing anything that other cultures are not doing. You're just doing it your own way. And you must understand that, acknowledge that, and understand that all human systems are products of religion. And if your human system is based on your own cultural interpretation of the manifestations of the Almighty Chineke, you will go a long way in determining your future and how successful we become.
I want to point something that I think it's very important, because for the longest, most people see the creator, Chineke, as male. Okay, and what that does is, even today, you have people in Igbo land that will argue you to death. As a matter of fact, now that they're starting to embrace the concept of Chineke, China, and Chi is, quite frankly, was responsible for making sure that people understand that Chi and Eke, male, female energies, there are some people still today who fight that. All right.
Yeah.
And to undermine the whole concept that there's a possibility that Chineke, Eke is an equal partner to Chi. They want to now say that that Eke is Chi's wife. I mean, just distorting it. I mean, it is that. Wait, let me just say this.
Yeah.
Our Igbo people need to know the African male, the Igbo man, was never chauvinistic or closed-minded towards women. It wasn't a history. Go and read, not what they tell you. Go and read. The Igbo man of the past always respected his woman, because the Igbo man of the past understood China Eke. It takes both male and female to create life. It is not something to be ashamed of. It's not something to fight. It's a reality. Your dad has something to do with you being here. Your mother has something to do with you being here. Without both of them, you will not be here. What are you arguing? What are you fighting?
It's
a critical conversation that must be had with the Igbo man. I'm sorry, you may get mad. That's okay. I can deal with it. I'm a big girl. But I tell you one thing, we need to honor each other. It makes it difficult for us to be able to take the strength of both to create a powerful nation, a powerful community, powerful, I don't say race, but group of people. But the reason why I say this, Dibia Ochoaja, because I've had situations where men will not even let me pour libations. Hear what I'm saying to you? Because I'm a woman. I'm like, okay, I'm your mother.
Women in Igbo culture pour libations. In Ghanaian culture, they pour libations. In Kenyan culture, they pour libations.
I'm trying to tell you something. I was at an event. The men drank acid.
I'm
a spiritual leader. I was conferred my title, my spiritual title, by His Holiness. And my village. That means I have the right to pour libation. What is libations? The first libations on this earth was the day your mother gave birth. That's the first libations that you knew. Now, I'm sorry. This is something that, Ochoaja, as we talk about this whole concept of African spirituality, let us not get it all twisted. Okay? Because what happens is we've got to get away from this masculine-centered concept of the creator. We must be all embracing. We must embrace the feminine side of Chineke as well, the Eke side of it, and not find it ridiculous because some of that religion says that a woman was the reason why Adam ate an apple, and because of that, she's punished. She's the reason for the curse in the world, for the problems in the world. Can you imagine that?
It's an Abrahamic way of thinking. Igbo culture, a lot of African cultures, for the most part, some of the tradition that they adhere to or remember is the one that, there's something called cross-cultural pollination, where you borrow things from other cultures, you add it to your own, good or bad, right? So that way of thinking really became dominant during colonization, right? Speaking of women, I mean, who are the Queen Aminas and the Nzingas, right? These were great women that were queens and were warriors.
Yes.
Right? If you look at African history, it's full of Amazonian type women, the Dahamian female army. There were 5,000 of them, the most powerful army in the history of West Africa. There were women that are called the Dahamian female army. There were 5,000 of them, personal bodyguards of the king of Dahomey. But that's another show. I'm not even going to go there right now because this is just total ignorance. But I'm going to kind of address what you are talking about, and I'm going to address it this way. And I'm addressing it the way I'm addressing it because I have what is called Nkomi, and you have it too. Deep thinking. People with Nkomi are rare. My father had Nkomi, and I'm proudly going to say that I have it too, and so do you. That's why you're sitting where you're sitting right now.
You say?
There's something called duality of existence, of life, right? Duality. And it just doesn't start with the male and female of human beings or animals.
Yeah.
Even a one single-celled organism like an amoeba or paramecium has male and female organs. Plants have that too. The first principle in the duality of existence, do you know where it comes from?
Go ahead.
Day and night. Day and night. You cannot have daylight forever. Without night, life ceases to exist. You cannot have nighttime forever. Without daylight, life ceases to exist.
That's right.
Unless you live at the bottom of the ocean where life doesn't sink deep in to the bottom of the ocean, which means that's where we would have been in. That's the only place where there's existence of living things that light does not shine through. And we wouldn't look the way we look right now. We'll probably look like Aquaman, who knows? Okay, with gills. The night is the female. The daylight is the male. With them together, life exists on Earth. Same thing with the making of life on the surface. Without male and female input, life does not exist.
That's right.
Therefore, God is not just a male.
Thank you.
Chineke has a female essence.
Thank you.
You need that for life to exist Now, if you look at Abrahamic religion, as you mentioned earlier, most of this way of thinking came from Abrahamic religion, where God created everything as a male. I don't know if they ever mentioned that any of the angels in the Bible were female, but here's what I know. When he sent his only begotten son,
yes,
he just didn't bring him from the heavens and brought it to you.
Again.
He chose a woman to do it.
Okay, now come on.
He chose a woman. God couldn't do it himself. He had to come in here and get a woman pregnant. And they gave us the only begotten son.
Come on
so
now.
When you see these people run around here talking about God is this and he's a man and he does this, just say to them, if it wasn't for a woman, you wouldn't have Jesus.
You say it again, okay?
That's what I say.
That's what I'm saying.
If it wasn't for a woman, you will not have Jesus.
You see, that's what I'm saying.
And if it wasn't for a woman, you're behind, your black African behind right now will not be talking.
Say it again. Say it again. And it's not, we're not being opposed to
anybody. If it wasn't for a woman, you won't be sitting over here talking about Chineke is male. And that's it. It took a woman to bring us behind up in here for you to say stuff like that.
Speak of that.
It is an insult. It is an insult to African culture, African spiritual behavior for you to sit in, how you say, to sit up there and then diminish the importance of the female, of the woman, when we all know that without the female essence of existence, life does not exist. You have to have daylight and night to make life worth living on earth. Otherwise, either way, you'll be dead. It is an insult, and it is almost a cowering to imperial way of thinking by the oppressor for you to marginalize the very part of God's existence that gave you life. There's no life without a woman in every simple aspect that we know. You need female to make life. Without it, life does not exist. China Eke, male and female essence of the Almighty Creator. Because without the female, you ain't got nothing. And without the male, the woman doesn't have anything either. We need each other. Duality of life. 2 hands, 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, your upper lip, your lower lip, your upper mandibles, your lower mandibles, 2 ears. Even your brain has 2 parts to it, left and right. Your heart, left ventricle, right ventricle, 2 lungs, 2 of everything.
Let me read something that was a couple of people. Well, Ukuna Charles says, I believe you. Day is the male and night is the female. I love it. Chineke created everything in 2s, male and female. No right sensible man to argue the male and female energies. That's right. And it's good for us to know that it's not, we're not trying to be, it's not undermining male or undermining female and just female. It's the concept that it takes both. And if we understand that, we can respect each other more. Don't ever assume that women who are silent are happy. Don't ever assume that. Don't ever assume that women who have to sit by the sidelines and just watch are happy. A one-legged man cannot go into battle with 1 leg. If you're fighting people with both legs, in other words, people who are using all of their human resources, both male and female, because they're not caught up in that I am man, you hear me roar, then you are trying to do things that you alone cannot do. You need your females. So when I say that, don't assume that the women are happy. They want to play their roles, but when you don't allow them, then they say, well, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? So it's imperative that we in African spirituality, in Chiism, and I'm going to say this about His Holiness. My father, one thing I was so proud of, I'm so proud of being his daughter, because he never put any limits on me. He never put any limits on his children, his girls. No. He expected his boys to perform, and he expected his girls to perform to the best of our individual abilities, but not based on the fact that we're either male or female. This is who you are. You have a responsibility. Follow it. Do what you have to do. What is it that Ahai says? Floriette.
Floriette, yep.
Floriette. He never, never, in any manner or form, made it a point to say, oh, because you're female, you can't do, that sort of thing. But I want us to move to something else. When you talk about Amadioha, people, one of the things that I know that we talk about all the Arunsi, but we need to make it, we need to explain to people how to relate to those concepts. It's not just concepts, but it's something that is tied to the creator and how you go. I think you talked about it, in terms of
it's in Igbo cosmogony from Mkporo area.
Yes.
We talk more of Kamalo than Amadioha because they're interchangeable.
Okay.
Some people might even tell you that Amadioha, right, is the sound. Boom.
Yes.
And then Kamalo is the lightning strike, the storm. But Kamalo is a totality of the forces in the sky, right?
Yes.
It is just not the sound of it or whatever. It is the lightning. It's even the snow. If you have snow, all the forces in the sky,
yes.
Lightning, snow, rain, storms, everything, hail, everything that comes from the sky is Kamalo, and it is important for vegetation, because without Kamalo, vegetation, it would be a freaking desert.
So how we manifest in our lives, instead of just talking about Amadioha, is to honor it.
You have to.
Am I right?
Right. It's considered, because of the noise and the sound and all that you hear, it's considered part of Chineke's temperament.
Temperament, yes.
It's part of your temperament. Be nice. Be good. They call it the slapping hand of God. The slapping hand of Chineke. When Chineke is angry, that is the way of Chineke letting you know that he's upset, right? But it's not letting you know, as far as nature is concerned, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not every time it rains and storms that you say, oh my God, Chineke is mad. We need to do something so that Chineke doesn't get mad. And if Chineke doesn't get mad, then it means there will be no storms and rains. And if there's no storms and rains, there will be no life. So you really don't want to stop Chineke from getting mad. But metaphysically speaking, it is considered the slapping hand of God, right? It's a way of telling you that you need to be good. You need to respect the forces of nature. In today's world, you don't need to be polluting the sky. You don't need to be doing things that will cause the storms not to come, like we're doing in, today. Part of taking care of the storm to make sure that the storm continues to come, for example, is taking care of the vegetation.
Which is Fijoko.
Yeah, without taking care of the vegetation, it's hard for you to get rain and storms and what have you. Now, you can experience some forces of the sky without trees, but you have to be in the North or South Pole.
Yeah.
Where it's so cold that because of the chemistry of the clouds, it snows over there, but it doesn't rain. It's ice cold, nothing grows, really. You understand? So when you look at the Alusis, you have to look at the interconnected relationship they have with one another, because if one is minimized, it affects the other ones.
It totally does.
You understand? So these manifestations are a way of telling you to take care of the manifestations of Chineke so that Chineke can take care of you.
But can I ask you a question, Julia Schwarzer?
Yeah.
One of the things that certainly happened to us, and I imagine that all the other African nations have their own interpretations and the names for the manifestations of Chineke, which is good, because that's what ties all of us together. But one of the things that I think that we lost, or one of the things that I find that cost us this understanding about the RNC is that we were taught that to believe in nature is well, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know, you have, it was what is the name given to people who observe ceremonies in honor of nature?
Well, they call it, there's so many names. Some are animists.
Animists and all that.
Yeah.
But by attaching negative connotations to all of that, what ends up happening is those things that sustained us, we stopped practicing.
Yeah.
We don't quite acknowledge what the Chineke has given us. So everything now is up in the sky somewhere. But you don't even get that until you die. Now people get upset when you say that, oh, but you know, we say you can be rich here, you can be. I say no, but the final destination, when a poor person has no money or has no means of getting money, what are they honoring? What are they looking forward to? They're looking forward to the day of their death. So they'll cross over to the other side where everything is holy and all. Whereas in the past, our people were taught, our people were taught to honor all the manifestations of Chineke right here where you are. You don't have to have too much of it. But every one of us has some aspect of it. Remember that song? Ihe niile ke bi n'ụwa, ihe niile ke bi na mmiri, ma ha dị ukwu, ma ha dị nta, ma ha dị mma, ma ha dị njọ, ha na-eketa azụ onyinye. That is to say, you remember that is to say, everything in this world, we all get in equal parts. And think about it. Who gets more rain? Who gets more air? Who gets more ground to step on? Nobody. Even when we die, the rich and the poor are buried 6 feet under. So everything, you know what I'm saying? No, but when we're not thinking in terms of the blessings that we have here on earth, and we're focused on something else, we abandon what held us together, and focus on something else, it causes social disharmony.
It does. It's certainly understandable, but at the same time, it becomes a duty that we all have to be able to keep this educational process, going and keep ourselves in people's faces, whether they want to see it or not. It's called colonial mentality, right? Africans think the way they do because of slavery and colonization. We got to this point because we were re-socialized. We were colonized. That's how we got to the point where we now argue and talk very badly about our own culture, and we extol somebody else's culture over ours. These are just cultures that belong to those people that enslaved and colonized you. It is their duty to make sure that they wipe out every single knowledge through the generations that you have about yourself, so that you become a shell of yourself. You have no link to your history, and all you see now is the world through their own prism, through their own eyes. It's sort of like we're suffering what is called a Stockholm syndrome. You could Google that, and it tells you that the guy who's on the subjugation starts to defend the person who is subjugating them just because they gave you a kola nut to eat, right? He's doing all manner of evil on you, but at least he's feeding you 3 times a day. And all of a sudden, instead of looking at all the bad things that they did to you, now you're talking about the fact that they were nice enough to give you a meal. That's what has happened to Africans. That's where we are right now. So as much as it's so annoying when I listen to our people speak the way they do, I have a level of, empathy for our people, because I know that before the European came or the Arab came to our shores with the Quran and the Bible, we didn't think this way.
No.
Right? The way we think is not the way we thought 300 years ago in terms of Christianism in the coastal parts of Africa. When people like what's his name? Usman Danfodio spread Islam across the northern hemisphere of West Africa and created the empires over there and annexed the villages and the little city states and created one kingdom. That was the end of African culture in the how you say, the savannah.
Yes.
Prior to that, the Nok culture was prominent. Even a lot of the stuff you hear about the Enri culture is all part of Nok influence.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? So, in as much as it sounds so annoying to me, I just have to have a level of empathy, and through media such as ours, try to educate the people so that the people will understand that there's nothing wrong with who Chineke made them. Chineke does not make mistakes in African culture, and I don't believe that any culture in this world believes that the Almighty Creator makes mistakes. I am what I am by the grace of the Almighty Chineke. Cultures are different. Diversity in the way we think is different. It's sort of like looking at a rose flower. It's a rose, but there are different kinds of roses: red rose, yellow rose, orange rose, what have you. But they're all roses. Nothing was created to be static, to be the same. Diversity in cultures and thought is divine because that's the way the Almighty Chineke made it. If you don't believe that, then you believe that Chineke made a mistake. You cannot, from one side of your mouth, say that God is Chineke is perfect, and then from the other side say that you are a mistake of the Almighty, and He took the European and an Arab to come to make you perfect. That is self-loaded to the highest degree.
Well, Habari Gani, everyone. I just want to throw that in. Today is the second day of Kwanzaa, which is Kujichagulia. And Kujichagulia stands for self-determination. And this conversation, quite frankly, is about that self-determination. You have to define. It's time for us to define ourselves. There's nothing wrong with it. And as long as people are so loaded in their minds, fearful about changing, their thought patterns, something their families their parents have taught them, or their churches have taught them. My thing about life is you can change where you are, or you can stay there. Wherever, and I say it all the time, wherever your behind finds itself, your mind put it there.
Your mind put it there, yeah.
You when you were little, you were sucking your fingers. Okay, I know I did. I did all that. But as I grew older, I realized that it's no longer it's inappropriate, even though it was tolerated when I was a child. But as an adult, it's no longer appropriate. It's not appropriate for us to define ourselves based on other people's standards and be ashamed and angry when we say, hey, it's time to wake up.
Yeah.
There's an Igbo saying, yeah. When you wake up is your morning. Well, the alarm bell is ringing. The alarm is going off and we keep hitting it and telling it to shut up. And we go right back to sleep. It's time to do what the alarm says, and that is wake up.
Yes.
My fear, Yudi, my fear is that as long as the children are not taught to embrace the definition of who they are according to their ancestors, the more they will continue to fall prey.
Yes. To other people. Absolutely.
Or other lands can take their genius and develop themselves, but not Africa.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. I'm going to say this before I get on to the sixth Alusi. Let me just say this. And you and I are both familiar with this quote, and then I'm going to throw something else on top of it, and then we'll move on. But a lion will never give birth to a lamb. The elephant cannot walk up to a lion and then tell the lion to become an elephant. A lion is a lion. by the grace of the Almighty Chineke, and that's what that lion is. What is happening to us is that the polar bear has come from the north to tell us that we need to start seeing snow in Africa. We should forget about the jungle. We should forget about the Serengeti. We should forget about being lions and start hunting for tuna. There's no snow in Africa. We don't have polar bears over there.
Up north.
It's up north. There's nothing up north that exists down there. Not the animals, not the same. We have animals, they got animals, but we don't have the same kind of animals. We have trees, they got trees, but we don't have the same kind of trees. Even our rivers are not the same. We don't have snow. I'm an African. I'm proud to be an African because that's how Chineke made me. I can't be anything else other than being an African. I could learn from my neighbors. I could learn what they do in Europe. I could learn what they do in South America. I could learn what they do in the Orient, Japan, India, Hindus, Chinese. But I don't have to stop being an African to enjoy the fruitfulness all around me. I don't have to be anything else but an African to be able to see what the Europeans do and appreciate what they do. I appreciate what the Chinese, the Japanese, the South Americans do. I don't have to stop being an African to appreciate the humanity. Diversity is divine. There's a reason why I want to leave Africa to go to Europe, to experience what it is like to be in Europe, to go see the Great Walls of China, to see the Andes Mountains in South America, because I don't have any of these things in Africa. But they also come to Africa to see the lions because they don't have lions. They come to Africa to see the Maasai tribe in Kenya because they don't have a Maasai tribe in China. They come to Africa to see the great Kilimanjaro, even though they have mountains in Europe. They come to Africa to experience the Zulu culture, the Igbo culture, the Yoruba culture. They go to Senegal to experience the traditional wrestling of the Senegalese. We go to different places in this world to enjoy all the diversity that is life. But we don't have to lose being who we are, especially Africans, because there's no other tribe in this world that is willing to lose who they are just to fit in into the human community. Unless you're African or you're from South America, Mexico, Nicaragua, Guatemala, all those people who have made Catholicism more important to them than their cultural leanings. People in South America don't even talk about the great Aztec culture. The most precise calendar in the world came from the Aztec calendar. The Incas, the Mayans, Montezumas, all those people that were murdered and resocialized when Cortez showed up preaching the Bible and with a musket on the other hand and the Bible on this other hand. They can't even seem to compete with the rest of the world in Central America because they've forgotten that they're Incas, Mayans, and Aztecs. Same thing with Africa. We have forgotten our contribution to civilized behavior before the Europeans and the Arab came to our shores. That's what we need to get back to. That's what we need to concentrate if we want to make Africa rise and become great and dine with the rest of the world as kings, as opposed to lapdogs under the table waiting for scraps. I just want to say that.
And you know what? You know what? Yeah. Africans represent 1.6 billion or 1.3 billion of the world population.
That's a lot of people.
About 16%. Now, ask how many of them practice African spiritual cultures?
Less than 1%.
Less, because we have allowed ourselves to be so vulnerable that we don't understand that our power lies in our spiritual way of life. Because when you take a man's spirituality or a woman's spirituality from away, you render them useless because now, you know, they're not able to practice what held them together. Look, this is the 21st century, and certainly culture is dynamic. There are some aspects of our culture that can change. There's aspects of all the world's cultures that can change, but we don't have to get rid of everything. We don't need to be ashamed of our spiritual culture. It's not everything that is our spiritual culture that's evil, that's devil. People are even getting killed for using herbs to cure illnesses because they've been so spooked that anything that is not from the holy book, is bad. And consequently, we are not able to really tap into that power, that spirit within us. Chi is within us. Eke is within us. If you tap into it, then you cannot be weak. But right now, because we've discarded it, we have become very weak, easily pliable. Yeah. And unfortunately, that is the reason why Africa is the way it is. And then people will fight you, argue with you when you open your mouth to say, hey, okay, I get it. You want to practice all this stuff, but don't get mad about any Africans talking about their own spirituality. How can you be angry with that? Well, they are angry with that.
We've been socialized into loathing everything that is African. I'm just going to make this point, then we can get to this thing and just kind of finish this up right quick. Then, go back and have a more general discussion. Smallpox in America in the 18th century was discovered by a Ghanaian slave using African cultural medicine to show them how to immunize people against I think it was smallpox right here in the United States. In today's Africa, such a person would have been called a witch, somebody who is into witchcraft, just because they're applying their traditional medicine. Mm-hmm. The cure for smallpox in America came from Africa, a slave who showed them how to create a vaccine to inoculate themselves against smallpox. If you said the same thing in Africa today, they would say that you're practicing magic.
That's it.
But they are taking the smallpox vaccine, the injections, and all that because a European or somebody from the Western culture gave it to them. But if it came from them, it's inferior because they have been socialized through Christianism. Remember, Christianism is responsible for this way of thinking. It's not the Arabs that are calling you a witchcraft worshiper or whatever. Mm-hmm. The idea of witchcraft and wizardry is European anyway. We didn't coin the word witch or wizard. All these are European influences. These are the kind of cross-cultural pollination that we don't need to internalize. We don't need to throw the baby out with the bath water. There's a lot of good in African culture. There's a lot of good in African medicine. There's a lot of good in this world today because Africans contributed to it. We need people, institutions, and individuals to speak truth to power and let the Black man and woman know that there's nothing to be ashamed of when it comes to African religion, culture, science, because we have, through the centuries, made contributions to civilized behavior. But because of slavery and colonization, such history has been exterminated. And today, we're wandering around the world as people that didn't contribute anything to anything. It is very sad.
It's sad.
Anyway, let me get back to the...
before you go back, I want to just read, because I like to read some of the comments that we get from Nosferatus. Remember, they hate us and want to be us so bad. Well, okay. And then we were forcefully programmed, which is true.
Yeah.
We are called pagans and workers, etc. This is from Ukunna Charles. Today's meeting is powerful. Dibia Yudi, you too much. Ikenga Jukwalagi. Oh, yeah, he's recording for us.
Yeah.
All right. Then he says, today's well, let's see. In fact, marriage draws the individuals closer to Chineke, and
Absolutely.
it goes on and on and on. Uh, so I just want to thank those who did comment. We have some individuals on the call who are just listening. I mean,
Yeah.
on the program was just listening, but sometimes those who do take the time to type something, I need to, because it tells me they're
Engage.
they're
Yeah.
hearing. So
Uh-huh.
go ahead and talk. Give us the final.
Yeah. So the sixth alusi is Ekuroche. And Imomiri, Ekuroche is the female aspect of the waters, the ocean, the seas, right? Housed by Allah. I mean, what do you call it? Ani or Allah. Ekuroche is the female essence of the waters, and Imomiri is the male essence, right? The male essence of the waters, believe it or not, has to deal with actually getting the fruits of life out of the water for you to eat. That's the part of the male essence of the waters that we talk about when you talk about the male, the fisherman, right? That goes in there and gets the fruit, the fish from the water. And the Ekuroche is the water that actually holds the fish, just like you hold a baby. And the male essence delivers it. That's the sixth part. That's what Ekuroche is in Yoruba religion. It's called Oshun and Olokun in Yoruba. In Efiki Bibio, it's called Ndem and Abase, and so on.
Before you go, because we're going to go over 1 hour, so hold that thought. I think it's important that people understand that why we celebrate Ekuroche. Okay, this is the time frame. Imomiri is celebrated at a different time. That focus, that male focus, but the 17th of December through the 13th of January is Ekuroche, and for us, Ekuroche, much like your Oshun, is young women and those who are, who want to get married. They go to the river and they jump in the river and they ask for fertility or ask for, mates. And they, in my village, it's quite interesting. It's called Azizi. I think you're familiar. If you're looking for a husband, if you catch a male fish, I mean, if you catch nkoko, which is crab, you have. If you catch a fish with your bare hands, or maybe even a basket or whatever, you have a child. And then we ask for good health, goodwill. In the evening, the men then practice ebamba. That's when the women go and check out the handsome men of prowess. But I say this to say we have our own celebrations. So even here, because Imomini represents, Ekuroche represents abundance. We celebrated it. We have a basket. No, not a basket. Ite. Itoma is a pot, beautifully decorated.
Yeah.
And we fill it with all kinds of goodies, And so, because it's abundance, some people can go in there, and take whatever they want, put it by the front door. And you also, because life is a gift, water is a gift, 90% of the body is water.
Water, yes.
A cloth over the pot. And then when people come around, right? And then, around the pot, you have, you can wrap gifts or whatever, just to say that water is gift of life. But you put things in there, and when people come to my door, I have people who come to drop off packages from UPS or whatever, and they see this package, they see this in front of my house, and they want to know, what is this? And I say, happy Ekuroche, which is what we are celebrating right now. And I tell them to take whatever they want from that, from the pot. But you have to replace it. You can't just take and walk away because
I was at your house yesterday, and I got some and I replaced it.
and you replace it, you know.
Yes.
But it's important to know that we can celebrate. We have lots of celebrations in Africa that many of us just don't celebrate. You know, yeah, New Year Festival. Thank God they're still making a big deal of that, which I certainly appreciate. But the celebration of Ekuroche, and when people the Ifa religion, when they celebrate the Oshu festival, we have Azizi. You know,
Yeah.
we have the celebration of the Ekuroche. So I just wanted to make that and of course wish everybody a bountiful Ekuroche because I'm celebrating mine. I got all gifts out of them. So if you should happen to come by, come and take, you know,
Yeah.
come and take something off my door. So go ahead and let so we can wrap. That's right.
The lizard fell from the tree, hit the ground. And if you ever observe a lizard, when it falls and hits the ground, it's always bobbing his head like that.
That's right.
Which means if you think it's easy to fall from this height and survive, if nobody's going to say anything about it, I'm going to toast myself. Yes, I'm bad. And that's what we need to be. Like the lizard, acknowledge your strength and your power because nobody gave you anything that you didn't already have. Anyway, the seventh one, last but not least, is Fijoko, which is the spirit responsible for the total vegetation, emphasis on agriculture, right? It's called Orisioko in Yoruba, Voodoo in Togo. Of course, the French people came and corrupted it and called it voodoo. They're worshiping voodoo. But Voodoo in Togo and Dahomey is Fijoko in Igbo, which is the Alusi responsible for the vegetations and agriculture, the food, the crops, the corn, you know, the palm oil, all these things that we harvest and eat from the land is Fijoko. It's very important, and they liken it to the hair or hairs of God, of Chineke, right? So that is the seventh Alusi, but there's an eighth one. And when we pray and when we revere these other Alusis, we always mention the eighth one. And that eighth Alusi is the ancestors.
That's right.
We pour libation to them for inspiration. The ancestors hold the tradition of our families. They hold the, what do you call it? The pride. All the contributions that a specific family has made is all encased in your ancestors. That's what they say. You need to know where you've been to know where you're going. And here's the catch. Okay, Dibia. All religion is based on ancestral reverence.
That's right.
And I always use Christianism because it's the most popular. Now, I throw in a little bit of Islam or Judaism in there, but I use Christianism because most of our perjured, outlook of life comes from the influence of that specific religious or spiritual culture. Abraham is an ancestor. So is Solomon, Lot, Gideon. There's nobody mentioned in Judaism that is revered by people that adhere to Judaism that is not an ancestor to the Hebrews. All the characters in Christianism are dead. They're ancestors. Whatever contributions that they made to that spiritual culture is in the past. It is in that past that they're able to determine their today and what they're going to do in the future. Islam is full of ancestors. Hinduism, every major religion, even Buddhism, Siddhartha is an ancestor. Why is it that other people can revere and talk about their ancestors and put it in books, but we Africans can't do that? When you talk about ancestral reverence in Africa, people act like you're talking about voodoo and magic. But all the other external religions that kept them in the condition that they are in today is based on ancestral reverence. Why is it that what is good for the goose isn't good for the gander? How can you know where you're going if you don't know where you've been? And the reason why you know where you've been is not because of Kamalu. It is not because of Annie. It is not because of Shango. It is not because of even Chineke. It is not because of Ofonogu. It is because of your ancestors that passed that history and your contribution to civilized behavior from one generation to another. It is your link to the past, present, and the future.
That's right.
That is the eighth part of Alusi, and we invoke ancestral reverence when we are paying reverence to the other 7 Alusis in Igbo spiritual ontology.
Thank
you. That's
you.
what we need to know.
Thank you for that lecture. Thank you. And for those individuals who have been asking, I think Charles has been asking for the possibility of having this lecture available. Well, this lecture is always available on the Facebook page, and also it's available on our Facebook page. So if you go back there, you can play it over. And also YouTube, our YouTube channel. If you enjoy what you hear here, we ask you to go to Chism of Africa and subscribe. Our goal is to increase the number of subscriptions on our YouTube channel. So if you really truly love what we're saying here, please go there, Chism of Africa on YouTube, and tell your friends and your family, all those who are like thinkers as you are, tell them to go over there. I dare you, as a matter of fact, all of you who listen, I want to go there and see at least 10 new subscriptions because of your effort. It's not enough for you to just come and get this information just yourselves, because there are some other people who could really benefit from it. And also, you can go to Chism, our website, chism.org. We have a lot of write-ups, and you certainly can learn a little bit more about Chism. We also have on WhatsApp, Chism spiritual gathering every Sunday. We leave a message there, and you have the opportunity, if you're a member of the Global Faith Ministries of Chism, we have conversations about spiritual things that you have questions about, and next time I'm going to put that up here. So we have access, you have access to us, and of course, if you want to call us, feel free to call 248-773-1857, and we'll be more than delighted to speak with you about whatever it is that you're interested in. I'm going to end this show, and again, I would like to thank Dibia Ochoaja, Yudi Onyoha, for that very exciting and exhilarating lecture today. You can all attest that this gentleman knows exactly what he's talking about. He does his research, and it's always a pleasure to bring him on Sundays to lecture. So more of you who will join us, you get more of his lectures. And on Saturdays, every other Saturday, we have the Hearthside Confections, where we also talk about the spiritual components of what we must do with our lives, or in our lives, to continue to move through this thing called life. So thank you, all of you, for joining this show today. Remember that African spirituality simply acknowledges the beliefs and practices that touch and inform every aspect of our lives. That's what African spirituality is. And when we don't practice that, when we disengage from that, we lose a little bit of Chineke. We move away from Chineke. Our spirituality is as good as everyone else. You don't have to abandon whatever it is that you have embraced, but you certainly should not throw away your African spirituality, because when you do that, you are literally throwing away the influence and the relevance of the ancestors. Thank you so much for joining us. And I am looking forward to another episode of Chism Live next Sunday. Thank you. UD, you have a wonderful day.
You too.
All right.